They called him the Diesel.
Crank up that diesel. Let's go.
He leaned across the table and he goes, "You need to get me back there. I'll make you famous."
And to Riggins, good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20. He's gone. He's gone.
It's Riggo the Diesel.
Good to whatever it is. Good day, good evening, good afternoon. I don't know what, but it's good. I know that much. I'm John Riggins. This is Riggo the Diesel. Larry Michael is with me, as he always is. And we're here to mess you up. No, we're not here. We're actually to have some fun. And more importantly, tell you all about the draft that just happened this last Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And Larry, I can't think of a better place to start because, I mean, you've probably been in overtime since the draft started, all 3 days, and then plus doing some other stuff on the side as well. I'll just kind of throw it to you and let you pick it up wherever you want to start.
Well, I'll start today, which is really an interesting thing. And I'm going to give you a little news, John, here, because I'm sure you don't know about this, but there's a program, international player placement program that the NFL has. You've probably seen some players from European countries. You've heard about them trying out for teams. They do play football in Europe. It's lower level football. But the Redskins picked up a guy by the name of David Bada. And I talked to him today. He's a 300-pound defensive lineman, defensive end, who's been playing football for about 6 years now. He's German, of African ancestry. And we had a chance to talk to him and talk about a pure reaction to being picked up by an NFL team. And we saw during the draft, I thought it was kind of cool that these players were all at home with their families. It showed you a real human side of all these players, rather than going up and hugging the commissioner and talking to Deion Sanders with the bright lights. To me, it was a breath of fresh air. Now today, to talk to a guy from Germany who has realized the dream of being on a pro football team and how, what he does once that he gets here, he doesn't know when he can get here because he's not leaving Germany anytime soon. But really, really an interesting situation. I thought to kick this show off, the virtual nature of the draft gave us an insight to some of these players that ordinarily we would not have seen. Did you get that feeling at all, John, when you watched the draft?
Yeah, I did. I certainly did. And it's funny you're talking about David Bada because I was just looking at the website, team website, and I see, but I couldn't quite piece together talking about being part of the draft but so I didn't know exactly what I was looking at. And I was confused. I'm thinking, I don't remember him getting drafted last week.
No, he didn't.
Clearly, they signed him as a free agent, obviously, correct?
Yes. And I guess it's a sort of free agent. The NFL has a program where players from Europe are placed with teams in training camps. And occasionally these players might break through and make the team. I've seen a bunch of players over the years. You read their stats. They're 6'5", 250 from Munich, Germany. What school did he go to? So real engaging kid. Maybe next week we'll play the interview with David Bada on this show. Okay. And we get your reaction to it because it's kind of cool. And to hear about some of these other guys, to talk to Sadiq Charles. He's the offensive lineman from LSU. And the Redskins picked him in the 4th round. And he had some issues in his senior year. He was suspended for off-the-field issues, not of a violent nature, other issues. And anybody can look it up. He got into, some stuff he regrets he got into. And he's fine now. He's been, tested and everything has taken place. What a grateful individual. What a happy guy to get drafted. And he might have gone in the 3rd, but he was so grateful to be drafted by the Redskins at a position, John, where Trent Williams is no longer a de facto part of the team. He's gone. So that's one of the great stories, I think, from the draft, Sadiq Charles.
Yeah, there's all kinds of things going on. Go back what you originally said. To me, I thought exactly what you were talking about, that you kind of see, but you don't, because so many times, not so many times, every time up until this year, with the virtual draft, all the players that in the 1st round, for the most part, I don't know, have any idea, you may, of how many players that the NFL would invite to whatever city that the draft's taking place in. And then, of course, like you said, they call their name, they come out on stage, they take a picture with the commissioner and yada, yada, yada. And then sometimes I think they've had cameras in the families back wherever the kids are from But this time they actually had the kids with the parents, the family, the whole deal. And I thought to myself, I said, well, you know, one thing out of this, you know, being a former player and having gone through this, not at this level or anything, but you kind of, it becomes a little bit of humdrum for some of us. But I'm thinking there's one thing that you can never, is that real true emotion that you see when that phone rings and they get the call that this is your new team, and you see it all. I mean, that's real human drama right there. It's great theater. You can't make it up. I mean, because it's coming from the heart. Everybody is so excited, and it's really, you're getting to watch, for the most part, you get to watch 32 lotto winners, you know, through the television, or at least through your computer or whatever. So, yeah, I thought that was that part of it really came through, and obviously, with the way things are right now, as far as viewing and what's available to sports fans, clearly, I think over, what was it, 3 days that the NFL pulled in 55 million viewers.
It was exciting. Yeah, it was exciting.
That's pretty amazing in and of itself. But, yeah, getting back to I was reading a little bit about, how do you pronounce his first name?
Sadiq.
Sadiq Charles, and talking about the fact that he obviously has been studying and very well, you know, probably since he was in middle school, Trent Williams, and the very guy that they're, I'm sure, grooming to replace him. And there's something about him that makes me wonder, based on what you just said, Larry, that here you have a guy that may have got into a little scrape of one sort or another. Like you said, nothing that you go, you know, like you're looking at somebody that you got, oh, I don't know, something would appear to be very correctable. A guy like that sometimes is actually because he didn't probably maybe go, based on his talent, as high as he probably would have liked to have, perhaps, I don't know. But because now that he's got that burning desire to show people and make up for, make amends, you know, for whatever, you know, the problem was that was created, that guy can turn out to be a real steal. And I know, you know, going in the fourth round, you know, obviously Trent Williams was a first-round draft pick, but don't ever forget, Joe Jacoby was a walk-on, was a free agent. So you never know from where they come, but it's great that they finally got somebody that potentially can take the place of Trent Williams. And also at the same time, you know, as I've always felt all along, that based on what Trent Williams' camp has said on and off throughout the past year or so, that, you know, he would be better. It's just basically sometimes it's better to make a clean cut. A friend of mine once told me years ago, it's better to cut the dog's tail off all at once than a little piece at a time. So, and I think that that's what they've done.
Ouch.
Yes,
Ouch.
I agree.
Yeah,
I can't imagine anybody cutting the dog's tail off a little, but it made sense when he told it to me.
Painful analogy, but
yeah,
I mean, Sadiq Charles, a guy that probably has more talent than the position he was drafted. He played on a national championship team, played both tackle positions and played left guard. So he's versatile, smart kid too. And you know, sometimes you do things in college that you might regret. Sometimes you do things after you get out of college you might regret. And sometimes you still do stuff you might regret. So for him, he is a Redskin. And I also thought a couple of other sidebars before we take a break. I definitely want your thoughts on this. Chase Young, he comes out of his house, and what he had done, he had set up a big video screen outside his house that he had like a drive-in movie type of setup so people could watch the draft, his friends and family, without being close to each other. And then for him to come out and for them to start singing Hail to the Redskins to him. And his mom, he told us, was a Cowboy fan. She's not a Cowboy fan anymore. She's now a Redskin fan. So that's kind of a cool thing. And then Antonio Gibson, the second-round pick, his mother grew up in Washington, D.C. His grandmother, his beloved late grandmother, was buried in a Redskins outfit, which we've heard of a lot of Redskins fans who are so devoted to the team, they've taken that step and other such steps to show their love for the team. So it's kind of cool to find out these stories the night of the draft. You might never hear that. If those guys are all in, you know, Las Vegas, you're not going to hear about that. They're going to get pulled in different directions. We learned a lot about these guys in day one.
Yeah, that's very interesting because obviously, you said the mom grew up here in D.C., so obviously the grandmother was a native as well, I'm guessing. And the fact that she was buried in, you know, Redskin jersey, whatever it may be, it was probably a 44. Although I don't know how long ago she passed away. And sorry to hear about that. But at the same time, there's a lot of connection going on here with the players that have been drafted and the city of Washington. So I would say it's unique in some ways. It really is. I mean, your quarterback, he's from here. In fact, you talked about it this weekend. I think whenever you had the virtual party and you had a couple of fellows on. I mean, you obviously you had Dwayne Haskins and you had Chase Young, and then you had a budding rapper here in D.C.
He's the best. Well, he's from Gaithersburg. He grew up in D.C. He went to Quince Orchard High School. Hey, Kendall Fuller, Good Counsel High School. Right. It's just a huge list. And John, you and Wale would be a great combination because he really respects the history of the team. He's a very, very smart guy when it comes to a smart guy about a lot of stuff. He knows his Redskins football.
He's an historian. Anyway, let's take a little break, Larry. I know you got something to read, and I do too.
I do indeed. Whether on the sidelines or in the classroom, whether your chalkboard is for X's and O's or vocabulary words, whether you're a pro football coach at Mrs. Johnson's, at George Mason High School, Washington Redskins believe in the power of great teachers. That's why we're partnering with youth entrepreneurs to bring Washington, D.C. teachers the resources they deserve in response to the coronavirus pandemic. Youth Entrepreneurs has launched Teach Everywhere, a place for teachers to call home while adjusting to teaching at home. The resource contains distance learning activities, resources, and tools in a series of webinars from expert educators. Visit teachanywhere.org to learn more.
Now, we all know money's going to be tight here in the near future, and you can't wait to fix the plumbing problems. So what's O'Connor Plumbing going to do for you? No payments for 6 months on all services. Get quick on-the-spot credit approval, and you can convert that to a long-term 120-month fixed low APR loan afterward. Plus, they'll waive their diagnostic fees and 10% off on all services. Don't neglect your plumbing. It's the heart of your house. Call O'Connor Plumbing at 1-833-RIGGO 44.
Folks, how well do you know the Redskins' new head coach, Ron Rivera? Test your knowledge for a chance to win a football autograph by the coach. Visit redskins.com, get to know, to take the quiz.
Ladies and gentlemen, stand back and watch the Phoenix rise from the ashes.
Stand back. It's Riggo the Diesel.
All right, let's start it out. Let's just start with the top of the draft order here. Chase Young. I think
A plus.
Yes, clearly. I mean, I think everybody knew going into this, that would be the logical choice. As I said, it would have had to been one of those, somebody made an offer that Ron Rivera couldn't refuse. That didn't happen. I don't think there was that many deals. But clearly, I think they got a guy that is going to, if you really think about this, now I don't know, because they're going to go to a 4-3 defense. It makes you wonder where they're going to put all these first-round draft picks that they've got that are pass rushers. Will he actually become a down lineman, do you think, Larry? Or do you?
Yeah. He's going to be a defensive end in the traditional sense. And I think Montez Sweat's going to be a defensive end in the traditional sense. Then you've got Ioannidis, Allen, Payne, and Settle in the middle. But there's all kinds of combinations. On first down, maybe you move John Allen to a defensive end and you have Sweat on the sideline. I don't think Chase Young comes off the field. And what you have now is, and totally not mentioning, Ryan Kerrigan has been kind of overlooked here. He's still got a lot left. He still can play outstanding football. And just to think, to be able to bring him in or start him instead of Sweat, there's a lot of combinations. And I believe Ryan will excel in a 4-3 defense because he won't be asked to drop into coverage in a 4-3 defense. He's going to pin his ears back and go after the quarterback. And you have a rotation of 4 defensive tackles. Those guys can stay fresh. So on the drawing board, that really is impressive. Now, let's see how it manifests itself on the field. But Ron Rivera is a defensive coach. Jack Del Rio is a defensive coach, obviously the DC. So these guys got to be real happy about what's up front, John.
Yeah, and that was what I was thinking to myself. I'm thinking, I originally was kind of thinking, well, they got 3 guys that are first-round draft picks that are all pass rushers. And then it dawned on me, well, actually, they're going to a 4-3 defense. So I figured that Chase Young would be a guy that goes up and is a down lineman.
Yep.
Then all of a sudden, I don't want to say it makes more sense because, as you just said, Larry, they can do anything they want to do, and they can throw a 34 out there every once in a while if they feel like it, just as a changeup to kind of confuse confuse an offense. But I guess, there's been so much said about Chase Young, there's probably very little that we can add because, whenever you hear somebody talk about a generational talent, you got to stop and pay attention. And if I'm not mistaken, not that I want to make a comparison because they're really not playing the same position, but I think Lawrence Taylor was the second pick overall years ago, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was the second. I don't know who the first was. Something makes me, because I always thought it was odd that the Giants, of course, it was Bill Parcells and company, who's the defensive coach, that they took, relatively speaking, Lawrence Taylor at that time was an unknown linebacker. Chase Young is just the opposite. I think that as far as everybody goes in this draft this year, I wouldn't even say, his name and Joe Burrow's, I think they're synonymous, i.e. there really isn't one as far as having, getting more publicity than the other guy. That's how well-known Chase Young is. So clearly I think everybody across the country is expecting big things out of him, and I know he is himself. And I got to give this draft class a lot of credit because I was not like this. They all certainly seem to have the confidence to come in here and make an impact. They're all very anxious, what I've read, each one, couple comments they've made on the team's website, that they're very anxious to show people what they can do. And, I think that's a great attitude to have coming in here whenever they're able to start their training camps.
Yeah, that's the big question here as we go through the list of guys. They, when rookies need work, and the coaches need to get with them, but all teams are in the same boat. Antonio Gibson was a third-round pick, no second-round pick because of the trade last year that got Montez Sweat. And this guy has been kind of compared to Christian McCaffrey. And I made that question, put that question to Kyle Smith, and he said, well, there's only one Christian McCaffrey, but what this guy can do is he can fit a wide receiver role and he can fit a running back role. And if you give him some open field, he's going to take it to the house. So that really complicates things, I think. Maybe complicates the wrong word. That adds a little intrigue to the running back room because you've got a stacked room. And if you're going to rely on Geis, who I love, obviously, and Adrian Peterson, and you might have Bryce Love be part of that. You've got Peyton Barber, started the last 3 years for Tampa Bay. You got McKissick, third down back from the Detroit Lions as a free agent. You're talking about a stacked running back room, and you can't carry that many. So this guy, as a third-round pick, he's going to make the team as a third-round pick. What his role will be, we're going to find out. Didn't play a lot of college football, played a year at Memphis and had 2 years at a JUCO level. But, wow, what speed and they keep calling him a Swiss Army knife. John, what is a Swiss Army knife? What tools are on a Swiss Army knife? You probably know that, being a guy that you are.
Larry, nowadays, in the old days, basically, I had one. Well, I've got about 2 or 3 of them, actually. You can get their multi-tools. They can do just about anything, really. When I say that, you can get a saw, you get obviously a knife blade, a screwdriver, a Phillips screwdriver, tweezers, scissors. It goes on. And it's funny because when I saw that they drafted a running back in the 3rd round, I was kind of like, well, okay. And then the more you read about the guy and you see just how versatile that he is, that nowadays it makes you wonder, instead of getting people to fill a specific role, particularly on offense, I think you're looking at a little bit of an evolution in the drafting process, offensively speaking, when it comes to a running back, because the running back position as we know it, as far as a guy an Adrian Peterson type running back, there always is probably going to be that guy, but at the same time, it makes you wonder if a more versatile type of guy that can do more things, perhaps split them out wide and also put them in the backfield and do all these things that maybe, because we talk about when it comes to the food chain, the running backs are at the very bottom of it, per se. You get a guy that has, and obviously with the very guy you're talking about, McCaffrey, at this point in time, I believe he's the highest paid running back in the history of the NFL.
Signed a big new contract. Yeah, topped Ezekiel Elliott's contract. Just signed it a couple weeks ago.
Exactly. And, you saw some of the guys who were basically pure 1st and 2nd down runners. A kid from San Diego was one. Well, not San Diego, now it's L.A.
Yeah, Melvin Gordon.
Yep. They were looking for the big contract that they did not get because they don't have that versatility. So I think this is a great pick. And because you do have, even though you have, on paper, you look like, well, that running back position is pretty loaded up. It's more insurance there because you really aren't 100% sure about the whole situation right now. The one place I would say, and I wanted to, although they did fill that with a free agency and in drafting Randy Moss's son, I can't think of his first name, but tight end was one of those spots that you looked at, and he may be given his pedigree, he may be, the guy that you find that a real bargain in the draft and or in free agency that the team was lucky enough to sign.
The volume of players that it brought in, both during free agency and now the draft picks, are not bringing in as many undrafted rookie free agents. They don't have as many spots since they signed so many players during free agency. You got log jams a lot of positions, and there's going to be competition. So look at tight end. Thaddeus Moss, Jeremy Sprinkle, Hale Henches, Richard Rodgers, and Logan Thomas were brought in as free agents. You got 5 guys there. Usually you keep 3. So 2 of those guys aren't going to make the team. It will look different this year. The same thing goes with, I think, the offensive line. You're going to have some new look on the offensive line. They picked up Antonio Gandy Golden, the wide receiver from Liberty, who's a big receiver, 6'4", 220. They've been looking for a big body receiver like that for years. Again, granted, in the NFL, you don't know the assimilation speed for a football player. You've seen guys come in. Some guys take a year to get up to speed as a rookie. Other guys come out of the box, and like Steven Sims Jr. last year, came right out. He was great. Right. Kelvin Harmon.
Another example.
Yeah, it took a little time, to kind of get the flow of the game. So, again, there's a lot of competition. You got Keith Ishmael, offensive lineman from San Diego State. You got Khaleke Hudson from Michigan, who's 5'11", 220, played linebacker and safety. So this is one of those tweener guys,
exactly.
Linebacker. And then you got a safety in Carmen Curl and another defensive end in James Smith-Williams out of North Carolina State, who was a 4.9 student. That's not 4.0. That's 4.9 because of, these advanced level classes. So very smart guy. These guys have drafted players, and you said it, John. These guys all seem to have really pretty compelling personalities and guys that have a mind for the game and probably all love the game. We'll find out who loves it more than others. But, the draft is – hey, have you ever heard a general manager say, I hated our draft. We didn't get any of the guys we wanted?
No.
Never.
That doesn't happen very often. That's bad marketing when you got a general manager saying that.
God, I don't like any of my guys. We needed this guy, but he went. This guy went. No, we're not happy, but we've got a good team anyway. No, everybody loves their draft. And, you never know. You never know. Steven Sims last year, go back to him. He was an undrafted rookie free agent.
Right.
So
it happens.
Yep.
There's a lot of talent. And to a certain extent, you never really know. I mean, like anything else, the talking heads, they had a great draft. They had a bad draft. And I read this just the other day, which I've always known, but it's true. You really don't know for a couple of years what kind of draft you have.
Right.
How many people end up on your team and how much impact do they really have in the success of that team is the way you weigh it out. Right now, you got a bunch of guys, at some point in time, they're going to put them in uniform, put them on a field, let them start practicing, and then they're going to play games. And you'll find more and more out about the people that you did draft. So, I mean, really, when you look at it, the fact that you almost have to feel like their very first pick, obviously Chase Young, is I think the anticipation is, Larry, that he's going to be that impact player that really that does a lot more than just sack people and or make stops. And what I mean by that is he changes the attitude of the team. I don't want to put too much on Chase Young for him to, for the expectation to grow so large that it's impossible for him to fulfill it. But at the same time, that's, I think, kind of feeling in the anticipation that fans have about his being drafted.
I agree with it. I agree with you. All right. Going to take care of some business. Did you know that your Washington Redskins are sponsored by Koch Industries? That's K-O-C-H, Koch. Their 67,000 U.S. employees make a lot of things that make game day better. Green turf, they make that. Stronger paper products for tailgating, they make that. Oh, yes, electronic components and TVs and smart devices, so you can watch the Redskins win anywhere. Yeah, Koch makes that too. See all they make for on and off the field at KOCHmakesthat.com. And now more than ever, it's important to keep your car ready for anything. And at your local Honda dealer service department, you're in safe hands. Safe hands that are expertly trained using only Honda genuine parts. Safe hands that will take every precaution to keep your car clean and sanitized. Safe hands that follow strict CDC guidelines, working with gloves and covering all commonly touched surfaces with plastic. And best of all, safe hands that'll work on any make or model. Because with Honda, you and your car are in safe hands. Contact your local Honda dealer for more information.
Hey, I'm bored, I'm broke, and I'm back.
Who's bored? Who's broke? And who's back?
I wanted to always see the redwoods. I wanted to see the Rocky Mountains. I wanted to see the Painted Desert, the Petrified Forest, the Grand Canyon. That was like the land that I always wanted to go to.
John Riggins.
It's something that I think is coming out Friday that I just happened to see. The T-Cat sent me a little clip on it that ESPN's going to do a story on Alex Smith.
Yep.
I don't know how much you know about it.
Yeah, I know a lot about that.
But the little paragraph that I read was, I don't think anybody has any idea what Alex Smith has gone through for the past 17 months, and particularly, I suppose, that first 6 months after the injury against the Texans. But they showed, I'm pretty sure that this what was, right, T-Cat? They showed a picture of his leg at some point, and there's going to be, this is going to be one of those documentaries, if I'm not mistaken, where they have to put a little disclaimer on it that it's, it could be a little too graphic if you have a squeamy stomach. But they showed a picture of his leg, and I swear to God, the last time I saw somebody with a leg like that, he'd been bitten by a fer-de-lance down in South America, one of those producers for like Lot, Naked and Afraid. It was, I don't think you can really appreciate. You think you break your leg, it's a broken bone. They put the bone back together. But what I don't think anybody can ever appreciate is that the infection that started because it was a compound fracture, not unlike Joe Theismann. Joe's very fortunate in some regards that he didn't get, somehow there wasn't any, I guess, bacteria, whatever the infection is. But I had no idea, according to what I heard, that, his life was on the line perhaps at one point or another. Are you very familiar with what I'm talking about?
I am. Obviously, Alex went through a lot. He did have several surgeries for infections. That's been reported. And, obviously that certain times during along, as this was happening, it was some touch and go moments for him because of how devastating that infection was. And obviously it impacted his leg, and they had to perform a lot of procedures to get it cleaned out repeatedly. And obviously that's not really easy to come back from. So what he has done over the last year or however long it's been has really been remarkable. I can tell you, I saw them as they were recording this interview during the season last year. I forget the lady's name. She's one of the producers for ESPN, might be a reporter. I just don't remember her name. And she followed him around for a couple of days, and then they came back and followed him around a little bit more and got, talked to his wife. And, I can tell you, and I've told this story on the air, the week that he suffered the injury, I went to visit him at the hospital. We were going to play the Cowboys, I believe. And I went by and saw him at Fairfax and Nova and talked to him. And he was suspecting he was going to be out of the hospital in a couple of days and be able to go home and then recoup at home. And, months later, he was still in the hospital because of these various complications from the injury he suffered. So it's a great guy, courageous guy. He's been through a lot, and his attitude, I haven't seen him in a while because we haven't seen anybody for a while, but his attitude over the last, I would say, January, February, March, just incredible dude. And whether he comes back or not, obviously it remains to be seen, but he wanted to give himself every fighting opportunity to resume his career. And if that for some reason weren't going to happen, he's going to resume his life in a very positive manner. And I'm behind this guy 200%, however it nets out. End of the day, there's no better person, beautiful family. His wife slept in his room every night, and, she'd never left his side. And it's a very, 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 I want to try to stay positive when I talk about him because he's such a positive guy, hadn't brought him down. He's had some rough moments, I'm sure. And those rough moments will be revealed in this documentary. I do believe he spilled, pretty much opened his heart to this process with this documentary. He hasn't talked a lot about it, his injury since, and I don't know when he plans on talking again. So that's a must-see TV coming up, I think.
Yeah, I look at it from the standpoint of really the journey that he went on, him and his wife, the family, everybody. It's really, I don't want to say it's undocumented, it's really not. I mean, from the standpoint, but it's similar to, in some ways, some of the soldiers that are coming back with
Yes,
with
I would agree.
I mean,
You're 100% right.
It's not comparable to a certain extent, but the attitude to want to come back, and because there was a point where they didn't know whether he was going to live. I guess. I mean, we have to wait and see the documentary, but certainly there was talk. I remember hearing talk about perhaps having to amputate the leg, which is what a lot of soldiers that have to, they have to go through those same decisions. But for him to come back and to still, even as late as last year, still thinks, or wants to play, I'm telling you, I mean, he's got my vote for NFL Man of the Year just based on what he's already done because of the courage and the determination. I mean, he basically is a great example of what you can do when you really put your mind to want to do something. And, he's not completely there yet. He's not on a football field throwing touchdown passes against the Cowboys. But I'll tell you what a journey he's been on.
Real impressive individual. I don't know what else to say about him other than he's one of the most impressive individuals I've ever met. Super, super duper nice guy. His wife is just fantastic as well. And, they're just a nice couple and just really, really cool people. And you just wish nothing but the best for him. And it's been kind of cool that he's been around the facility. I mean, again, up until we had to leave.
Right.
He'd been there, sit down, have lunch with them, talk, what's going on, how you doing, talk about sports, huge sports fan, very knowledgeable. And this guy can do whatever he wants to do. If for some reason his football career would not be able to continue, I'd love to see him be on TV. I'd love to see him he'd be one of the best commentators immediately. Tony Romo, put that guy in the booth. He's such a smart guy, and he's so eloquent. And he's been through a lot in football, before the entry. I mean, the guy was a #1 draft pick and been through all kinds of different scenarios. Never won a championship. I think that's something that sticks in his craw a little bit. That who wouldn't it stick in their craw? If you're a pro football player. But I'm looking forward to seeing the show, and then I'm looking forward to seeing Alex down the road. He's a super guy.
Yeah, he's a number one. Before I let you go, anything unusual happened to you this past week?
No, but you know what I have done? I swore off gas grills a few years ago. I wanted to go all charcoal.
Yes,
because it tastes better. To me, it tastes better. And then I got my little chimney thing that I put my charcoal in. You don't have to use any lighter fluid. You're familiar with that thing.
Right.
And then my son-in-law and my daughter bought me a grill for Christmas, a gas grill, a beautiful charbroiled gas grill. So I had it over here. And you know what, John? I'm moving in that direction, John, because you can go out there, you can turn that sucker on, and in 5 minutes you can put a steak on. And we understand there might be a meat shortage hitting us. So I went and I got a freezer full of steaks now. I'm gonna just pull one out every couple days. I'm gonna go out to that gas grill, and in 20 minutes I'm good to go. So I've gone back over to gas now from charcoal after swearing gas off. Now I'm back to gas and charcoal. I haven't lit the charcoal yet this year.
Listen, there's room for everybody. You know what I'm saying? I think that there's a reason why you like charcoal, because I think you're right. Ultimately, the taste is going to be better. But for speed and ease of preparation, you can't hardly beat a gas grill.
Nope.
I use now, interestingly enough, I used to I would find kindling and chop it all up, this particularly when I lived in New York, and get it real fine like I was going to make a campfire, because that was as close as I could get to camping. And then I would get that kindling going, and I'd put my charcoal on it. But I got smart here in the last year or so. I just take a propane torch and hit that charcoal with the propane torch, and I'm done within about a minute or two.
Oh, that's smart.
Another way to skin there is another way to skin the cat. I was going to tell you, though, over the weekend, and then we'll go ahead and I'll sign off. But I ended up, my daughters, of course, I'm here with 3 women in my house, and well, you can imagine the choice of movies we get. So this weekend, I had the choice of watching Little Women or Judy. Now, Judy is the life story of Judy Garland, Academy Award winner Renee Zellweger, or whatever her name is.
Zellweger, yep.
And I was going, well, I don't want to. I said, let's watch Little Women. And they finally agreed to it. And I got to tell you, Larry, that first part, even my wife was going, whoa, this is really slow. I mean, and the book's been out forever, obviously. And finally, though, we got to the point, because we started watching at 11:30 at night, It's about 1 o'clock in the morning. There's still an hour of the movie left to go. I mean, it was a long movie. And they all said, well, yeah, let's watch it tomorrow. And by that time, I was like, no, let's finish it. But of course, I got outvoted, and then they turned it on the next day. And by then, I'd lost my chick flick. I didn't want, particularly after they'd already watched Dear John, with Channing Tatum or whatever his name is, and Amanda Siegfried or whatever her name is.
I feel for you, man.
I've
I
had
feel
enough
for you.
chick flicks. I can't do a chick flick.
I feel for you. I mean, but tee up a few Rambos in a row. That'll help you.
There was, and in fact, I was watching a similar type show, and it got cut off. It was preempted so we could watch Little Women. Anyway, Larry, as always, a pleasure.
Thank you, JR. Appreciate you.
Sweet. Very good. Thank you.
Even though COVID-19 poses an unprecedented challenge, you can count on Novak to deliver reliable power and to help in other ways. Novak.com offers tips to save energy while spending more time at home. Novak customers can monitor their energy use online, as well as pay bills through the website or by phone. And anyone can donate to help neighbors in need through Operation Roundup. Novak, power you can count on.
The Department of Veterans Affairs has the honor of providing care to those who have served this country in uniform. Today, the VA is on the front lines of the battle against the coronavirus, and we need your help. We are looking for medical professionals at every level. I hope that you will consider joining our team, either temporarily or permanently. To learn more, go to va.gov/join us.
Work is work, but there's nothing like a good workout. Tennis, mountain biking, a good run, sweating off the week. That's what weekends are for. Of course, a misstep could put you out of commission. That's why Innova Sports Medicine is here for you. We treat your injuries and recovery like you're a pro. In fact, Innova is the official sports medicine partner of the Washington Redskins. See how we keep you on top of your game at innovasports.org.